Good morning, it's Trish. I'm here with a bunch of international folks I want to introduce y'all to. I am, of course, Trish with Hip Homeschool Moms. Leanne is here with Hip Homeschool Moms, but we are here doing something different today. We get to be participants instead of actually leading the call. So Camilla, who is the Executive Director of Apology and Mission, is going to be talking with some folks about homeschooling internationally. So we're excited to have her here. We have talked to some of these folks before, and I think y'all will find them fascinating. And one thing I do want to mention is that in the international world, they do not have the luxury of stable internet the way we do. We've already had a couple come in and out, so if we lose some of them, just know that this is part of dealing with international community. This is what they have to deal with on a daily basis. So anyway, I'm going to pass it off to Camilla. Good morning, beautiful.
Good morning. Thank you, Trish, for
Thanks
having
for being
me.
with us. We're so excited.
Yes, I love anytime we can get together with the Hip Homeschool Moms.
Oh, thank you.
As Trish said, my name is Camila Peebles, and I'm the Executive Director of Apology and Mission. We are a 501c3 charitable organization, and our mission is to support U.S. military families, missionaries, and international citizens by offering curricula, resources, and encouragement to help them homeschool successfully. So our whole focus is the global homeschooling community and supporting that. Today, as Trish said, we have several people from around the world and also here based in the U.S. And I met everyone at a conference last month, back in March. It was a global home education conference, and it was a wonderful way to just find out what is going on around the world and the challenges and the needs and just how the homeschooling movement is growing. And so first, I'm going to have Deb Bell, who is heavily involved in the Global Home Education Conference, just to talk about her role and the conference itself. Deb?
Thank you, Camila. Everybody saw me taking a selfie there. Being a part of this webinar this morning, I appreciate the opportunity. Yes, as you know, as you know, Camilla, I am a board member for the Global Home Education Conference, and we just put on an event in Rio that gathered hundreds of homeschool leaders and politicians, influencers, thought leaders from around the globe to really advance the freedom of home education globally. I mean, here in the United States, it can be very easy for us to take our freedom for granted, and that's not true in many places. So along with you, I got to meet Liz and Irina for the first time face-to-face. I serve on the board with Irina, who's based in Russia, and I was very grateful for Apology and Mission because you are my publisher, and I felt like Apologia really has made a strong commitment to the global home education movement, which is also where my heart beats. So it's a great partnership.
Wonderful. Thank you, Deb. If you ladies wouldn't mind just sort of introducing yourselves, maybe we'll start with Trish and Leanne, and then Irina, and then Liz. And so just tell us your names and tell us maybe how long you've been homeschooling and how many children, a little bit about your family.
Sounds good. Hi, I'm Trish. I'm with the Homeschool Moms. I have 3 boys. They are 16, 14, and 12. So I have 2 in high school, 1 in middle school. We've been homeschooling for 8 years, getting ready to go into our 9th year. We live very rural, and so we don't have the luxury of doing a whole lot of co-ops and things like that where we get to hang out with a bunch of other children. So we're on the lonely end of the homeschoolers, but we try to do things like music and sports and things like that to keep them, quote, socialized, which is everybody's favorite thing to ask us about. And I'm excited to be here. Thanks for letting us be a part of this, Camilla.
Thank you.
And I am Leanne Warren. I am also with Hip Homeschool Moms, and I have one. He is 10. We have been homeschooling since he was in kindergarten, so I guess that puts us at 5 years now. And we are kind of the opposite of Trish. I am a city girl, so I live outside of Nashville, Tennessee, and so we are always on the go doing whatever activities we can find in around town and adventures and museums and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how we homeschool.
Wonderful. Thank you. Irina?
My name is Irina. I live in Moscow. I'm on the board of Global Home Education Conference, as well as Deborah. I've been, I started being involved in homeschooling since Global Home Education Conference in Berlin in 2012. But all my kids, they have never attended kindergarten or school, so I'm homeschooling them just from the beginning. I have 3 boys. The eldest one is 9, and 9, 5, 3 I have. So 2 of my boys are in elementary years, and 1 is in kindergarten age. We do a lot of homeschool activities here. The community is very, very active in Moscow. I just came back with my kids from a series of excursions in Pushkin Museum, for example, where we have one of the best collection in the world of Impressionist painters. And there's so many things going on now within homeschooling community in Moscow that I can hardly even embrace all of it and remember who is doing what, just to keep on track.
Wonderful. Thank you. Liz?
Hello?
There we go. Hi, we can hear you.
Yeah. There's such bad drag. I hope you'll be able to see me and hear me. From Kenya. About 17 years now. Gloria, who just then I have a 10-year-old Joy, and end up being like pioneer families.
Mm.
Interesting just seeing others part and everybody looks up. Interesting experience for us, but
Oh, that's so hard.
A little bit of drag
Yeah.
on Liz. Did we lose her?
I think she's locking up on us. Yeah. Poor
There we go.
thing.
do you
That's
receive me?
Okay, now we hear you.
Okay, so did you hear? Would you like me to say anything again?
Start over.
Yes.
Start over. Wow.
Go really slow
Okay.
because your internet is dragging.
Maybe every 10 words.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to follow most of the others also. So, well, anyway, I'll reintroduce myself. I am Liz Gitonga, and I'm homeschooling in Kenya with my husband, Patrice. We have 3 children. Gloria, who is a freshman at university, and Josiah, he's 13 years old, and Joy is 10 years old. So we've homeschooled, all the way through, and we probably are among the pioneer homeschool families in Kenya. Actually, we are. And so with homeschooling now beginning to pick up pace in Kenya, we find many people looking up to us as experts and wanting some tips and ideas on how do you do this. So that's been interesting, working with other families and sharing what we have learned along the way, and just building up each other. So that's our role here, and heavily involved, of course, then with the homeschool community and leadership in Kenya.
Wonderful. Thank you, Liz.
Yeah.
We We got to hear all of your story that time.
Yeah,
Yay!
I get to hear it all. Thank you. I'm glad.
So let me start with, just a few questions here. I think something that, especially for our non-U.S. homeschoolers, for Liz and Arena, I think one of the questions people here in the U.S. might have is, what does a typical day look like for you? How different is it, or is it different from, a homeschool life here in the U.S.? So we'd love to just hear, what's an average day like?
Liz, you
Okay,
can start.
I can go first? All right, yeah. Well, I don't know. Do you guys all have typical days? We don't. I don't know whether it's just me, but I don't have a typical day.
Yes.
How I would like the day to be is that we all get up. Yeah, we all get up and have our breakfast and have our family devotion together. That's very important for us as a family, and then get on with our studies. And pretty much we would put in 2 hours, take a break, put in 3 hours, and take lunch break, and then do extracurricular activities in the afternoon. My son and daughter are 3 years apart, so there are some subjects, there's some areas of study that we kind of sit together, and I read out stuff loud to them, and I'll have my son, do a little bit more writing on what we have read and a little bit more research, and I'll have my daughter tell back some of what we've read and do slightly less writing than my son. What else do we do? In the afternoons, the kids are free to do what interests them. My daughter really enjoys handicrafts, so she'll be sewing or knitting or painting, and that's the kind of thing she enjoys, or keeps herself busy in the kitchen. And my son may pick a book to read. He would like to pick his phone or a computer and play games, but I will not allow that. So we'll look for other creative things. Yeah, yeah, we look for other creative stuff for him to do. But he's good with computer stuff, like computer software and hardware. He works with his dad, and my husband works from home, so that's really great that they can get together and tinker around with machines. And they'll and then later, when we live in a neighborhood where we have like a gated community with 100 houses, and most of the other kids, actually all the other kids are going, but at 4, and so my son will go out and play football with them for about an hour, 2 hours, and then come back to the house. So that's kind of what our day looks like.
Okay. Irina, would you like to share?
Yes, sure, Camilla. We try to wake up all together at this one time, at the same time. Then we have break, then breakfast, and we start our homeschool day at something around 9, 8:30 or 9. And my eldest kid, he works for an hour and a half on his own. He has tasks. I compose tasks for him a day before, and so he take his task list and go through it, checking what he has to do. So it takes him about an hour and a half. During that hour and a half, I'm reading to 2 small kids, reading books, different books. We look at the pictures, or we read. After an hour and a half, he has a half an hour break, and they take some snacks. And then I start working with the elder one, and those 2 guys, they got tired of books, and they are eager to play for an hour or so. So, and I'm playing with them and checking, giving instructions and controlling something what the elder boy is doing. And we finish homeschooling at 1 normally. Then we have lunch. And after 2, my eldest, 9-year-old, he has extracurricular tasks from me for about an hour. It is something around reading or a nature journal, things like that. that he has to do. And I spend more time with youngest two, and somewhere around 5, they have a snack, and we go to the nature walk together, and get back home at 7:30. Then we have dinner, and lights are off at 9, something like that.
Okay. So it sounds like your lives are pretty similar to those in the U.S. and there is
Absolutely.
every day is different, and every family kind of does what works best for their family. So my next question, and this is for any of you.
Oops, we just lost Liz.
uh,
She'll probably pop back in, y'all. So. So it's really for a few of us, right?
Yeah, maybe I'll do another question. One of the, Trish, you mentioned that you're in a rural area and you don't always have that community. And so, that was one of my questions for all of you is, how do you get connected? How do you find other homeschoolers in your area, or some other way to find community if you don't have any immediately accessible? How do you connect with other homeschoolers?
That's a great question, and it can be very, very challenging. For us, like Liz, I was giggling as Liz was talking about her son, and she's back now, so she can hear me. Hey, Liz, I was just talking about you. But the question was, how do you essentially have your children around other kids when you live rural?
And even how do you connect with other homeschool, even as a mom, how do you connect with other homeschoolers?
For us, my children are very involved in Minecraft. Yeah, Liz, you can feel my pain, right? So we actually have a Minecraft server, Scrafty. We love them. It's a safe homeschool server where they actually teach via Minecraft, and so we do some homeschooling via games, which is very, very common in the United States. I don't know if that happens anywhere else, but it's getting more common in the United States. So we do that, and they have a lot of online friends. We also do the sports, like I was talking about. They're all into soccer, so we play soccer. My oldest is on the yearbook staff. We actually have a homeschool yearbook, if you can believe that, in Memphis, and he is on the yearbook staff. Next year, my next son, Gage, the 14-year-old, will be on there too. So we look for opportunities like that where they can engage with things that they enjoy. For me, one of the things that we do most, honestly, is Hip Homeschool Moms. We don't have the luxury of being involved with a lot of moms locally, and so my support system is virtual. It's online. So, and that's, for some of us, that's all we can do, So we're an hour and a half outside of Memphis, so it's a long drive. It takes me that long to get in town to take my son to journalism for, one way, so that's a 3-hour trip, plus the time he's at class. So it's just not feasible for everybody to hang out with folks that, homeschool. So.
Okay.
Next.
Would anybody? Yeah.
Anybody else want to join?
Yes, sure. It's very easy now to do this in Moscow, as I believe we have the largest community in the country of homeschoolers here. I personally connect mainly through Facebook to find people and to find the events which are going on. And there are so many events now that I'm happy when I have the whole day at home, where I'm not going here, because they sound so exciting that I want to be everywhere. And I know some people who live, I live outside Moscow, like 4 miles, but I know people who live in the center of the city, and they're on the event like each day. Something is going on. Mainly, it's about excursions in some museums because we have hundreds of museums. Some people do excursions in the parks to watch bird things like that, nature walks. Every day something's going on in Moscow. So it's really now easy to find other people, to find friends, and to exchange opinions.
Liz, how about you?
Well, that sounds exciting. We don't have that much going on, though we do have some. We'll just have weekly support groups, and that's what I do. I go for a weekly support group with the kids, and we do lots of field studies there. So we'll do the trips to museums, but we sometimes do some academic things like debates and book reports, that kind of thing. And then the kids do soccer on Saturdays, and that's not homeschool groups really, with other kids. At my home, I'm running a resource center, and homeschoolers come there to borrow stuff. So that has been my way of connecting with other and just kind of getting energized, because I'll sit and chat with moms as the kids browse through the books. And often we'll just be talking homeschool stuff, sometimes just life stuff. So that's pretty much what I do, to just connect with others. And we run a little, Facebook group. So I use that now and then. I'm not really so great on Facebook, but I use that when I can. Yeah.
Okay. Liz, I actually had another question for you. You've been homeschooling for how long again?
Yeah. Well, let's say 17 years.
Okay.
My daughter's 19, so as
Okay.
soon as we began.
Yes. So you've been involved in the homeschooling movement in Kenya for quite some time, and here in the
That's
U.S., we're at a place now where we're starting. The seeds were planted many years ago, and so we're now coming upon our second generation of homeschoolers. So we're starting to see sort of a shift in even homeschooling methods and cultural views and things like that. How would you say homeschooling has changed for you in Kenya since you started? What changes have you seen, whether it's been challenges or improvements over time?
Yeah. When we began homeschooling, those are 15, 20 years ago, homeschooling at that time, pretty much what we had to learn from, or whom we had to learn from, was the missionary community that was homeschooling in Kenya, because that was our introduction to homeschooling.
Okay.
And by and large, we felt we need to homeschool the way they do it. This is the prescription, this is the recipe, this is how you homeschool. And so we used a lot of the curriculum that, I suppose lots of moms have used in the US, the Abeka, Sunlight, Bob Jones, and that's still popular now. And, excellent, well-written curriculum. And I suppose because most people felt you need something written for the homeschool man. When you're not a trained teacher, what do you do? And, the curriculum comes very well scripted. Over the years, there's been a growing awareness of bringing in our cultural values into our home education curriculum, and that has taken the form of taking our local curriculum and adopting what we have found to be very rich in the curriculum from the US, and incorporating that in our local curriculum so that we do not lose our culture, our values. So that seems to be that's the next step that we are taking, developing curriculum that is home-based, homegrown, but yet incorporating all the richness of the curriculum that we've used in the past. I've seen too, lots of families began homeschooling because of religious reasons, wanted to pass on especially Christian values to their children as they grew up. Over the years, we have now more families coming on because they are not happy with the school system and wanting to give their children a different experience, with our system being very focused on rote learning. And there's a lot more awareness among parents now of what education really is, or the potential that lies within teaching your child at home. So a lot of families are coming into homeschooling wanting to wanting to reap that, wanting to be a part of their children's education and give them an education that is suitable for them and that is of high quality. So that also is different. So it's not just only because of Christian values, it is also because of the quality of education. That I notice now is that you have families that are needing work, perhaps single moms or even double income, who feel they cannot make the decision, parents to be at home not really earning an income. And so we have families that are hiring tutors to work with their children at home. That's also becoming very popular. Of course, that's a different flavor altogether, but that's almost a definition that's becoming known as homeschooling in Kenya, where you have a tutor coming into the family and entirely working with their children under the parents' direction.
Okay.
Fascinating. Isn't that fascinating? That's happening here in the United States too, a little bit.
Is that
So
true?
yeah, it's fascinating to see that it's happening around the world. Wow.
Yeah.
What, this question maybe for Arena and Liz, what's the biggest challenge you face?
To my mind, the biggest challenge we have now is curricula.
Okay.
And that's what we've been discussing with Camilla in Rio, because our tradition of Russian schooling was broken after revolution, and the system was completely changed. Of the whole system of schooling. We had before revolution we had different types of schools, and after revolution we had one school for all. So and secular one with communist ideology, and so all the school books that we have available from the Soviet times, they are very ideological, secular, and the new books that come to us after perestroika, after Soviet Union collapse, they are also secular. Secular books, what we have now in the schools, and there was a period where when a lot of school books were printed and developed by Soros for whatever reason, and so it's not what Christians would like to have in school books. What we have now, and those school books which were Christian were used before revolution. They are completely outdated, obviously. And first thing, and second thing, their language changed very much. Like there was language changed, so it's hard for kids to read the pre-revolutionary versions, and they are not easily available. So what we have good stuff from Soviet times is science books, some science books, and math, and Russian language grammar. Those are okay, but science only like chemistry things, which do not deal with creation, because of course there is Darwin all over and big explosion and things like that. So we have, and obviously all this are for classroom teaching, so it's not convenient to use them in a home. For homeschoolers, we have absolutely nothing, no curricula. For home education, we have only one book translated, which I'm going to receive now to Russian, Apologia General Science. I want to have it to look how good is it. And I see this is the biggest challenge. And homeschooling changed very much since, I would say, 3-4 years ago. It's really growing now exponentially. A number of co-ops, number of field trip groups, they're like popping up.
Okay.
But the curricula is not available, so they all work with school books, which is not good quality education.
Okay.
So that's it. That's it.
I know we talked when we were in Brazil. We talked. You shared that the Russian Orthodox Church is largely involved in the homeschool movement. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, sure, Camilla. I serve as an advisor for the head of Patriarch's Commission for Family, Maternity, and Childhood Protection. And the head of the commission is very supportive of home education, and we recorded three 1-hour talk shows on Federal Channel on home education, and I recently made 4 hours meeting with Christians in the center of Moscow on homeschooling topics. And it's very, very important that Russian Church is supportive supportive. Many members of many priests are very supportive of home education because not a lot of Orthodox Christians, they know about it. So there are a lot of more people who live in Moscow or St. Petersburg. They are aware of home education, but in rural areas or in small cities, in most of them, no one heard that it's legal, okay, and you can use it. And we have more than about 30,000 churches, I guess now, 27 maybe, all over the country, and it could help a lot delivering the message on home education through priests.
Okay, that's wonderful. One of my questions for everyone is, when you got involved in homeschooling, how did you come to that decision? How did you find out about it? Was it your idea? Was it your spouse's idea? Were you excited? Were you not excited? Was your spouse supportive or unsupported? Kind of share briefly maybe that journey with our audience.
Want me to start?
Deb, would you, or Trish, or whoever? Yeah.
Yeah, Deb's over there. Deb hasn't said a word. We can get Deb in here.
I know.
Yes, as the old timer. Yeah. I was a high school teacher, and I was in the high school library, and I picked up Mother Earth News, and I read an article by John Holt called "Teach Your Own," and John Holt used to speak at educational conferences, and I had connected it with my colleague railing against him in the faculty room earlier about John Holt's gone off the deep end. And when I read this article, I realized this must be what she's talking about. He was advocating something called Teach Your Kids at Home. But it really captured my attention. And then shortly after that, I left teaching, became unexpectedly pregnant, and then found out we were unexpectedly pregnant with twins. So I started to really investigate homeschooling. There was a burgeoning movement in Pennsylvania, and when they were 2, I went to a gathering of homeschoolers in the state capitol because it was illegal here in Pennsylvania. Okay. So my husband was supportive in a lukewarm sort of way, and we were just going to do it K through 3, and he felt I could do it because I had a teaching certificate. And so the early days of our homeschool life was being very politically active to change the law in Pennsylvania to make it legal. I know here in the U.S., PA has a pretty bad reputation for being a restrictive homeschool state, but it used to be illegal. So anyways, then by the time we got to high school, I was ready to quit, and my husband was the one who said, no, you have to keep going. Yeah, I was ready to send my twins to school at that point, or at least seriously consider it. So
she was looking for a tutor at that point, right?
Now, I'm willing to get these very big twin boys. My sons were athletes, ready to get them out of the house, I think. They were good kids. There just was a lot of energy in the house, and it was a bit, and it was scary to think about. Oh my goodness, getting them ready for college. But we did it. I mean, in the end, we did it all the way through for all four, and my kids were, I think they're happy about it. They felt well prepared. They're all college graduates. 3 of them have master's degrees now. So
There you go. A veteran speaks, y'all.
It can be done.
We appreciate the fact that you paved that way, right? You know, I mean, we need people that were back there in the forefront that were willing to put everything on the line to do that for us. So thank you, Deb.
yeah, I didn't really know what I was getting into, but it's fun. Yeah, and I mean that's what I love about being involved now internationally with the global home education.
You're just renewing your fight, aren't you?
Well, I just love Liz and Irina and the people I'm meeting. I understand the sacrifice they're making, and I really wasn't a big pioneer. I was a part. I mean, I was a follower, and was grateful for the pioneers, the leaders that were around me who I could follow, and they're pioneering in their countries. I mean, they're really homeschooling and also speaking up and advocating and educating, and they're making a way for so many others to follow. So, you know, I find it exhilarating to be around them. Really love you, ladies, and admire you. I mean, it's quite a privilege. So.
Absolutely. And I can understand that, Deb. I can understand. See, this is the empty nest in action. So we get to see what happens with some empty nesters that are homeschoolers. They get involved in a new fight, new cause, new inspiration. So yeah, for so many of us, I think that we take it for granted that we can do this. We don't even think about that. So when I first started, my kids were not homeschooled from the very beginning. We were in a Montessori school, and I was very involved. I was chairman of the board of the Montessori school. Well, the economy took a tank in the United States, and so we pulled our kids out because we couldn't afford to send them to the school anymore, and I started homeschooling. So that was the reason I started. It's not the reason I continued. I fell in love with homeschooling, had no idea how close I was to losing those relationships with my children. It had, just completely no clue as to how much peer pressure and things like that were going on. And when I brought them home, our relationships renewed, and I figured out real quick that was going to be the biggest benefit of homeschooling. Yes, they have a great education. Yes, they have lots of freedom, but really the relationships they're the most important thing, and being able to teach them our faith, and that was the other thing. At the Montessori school, they would teach the Big Bang and things like that, and we'd have to come home and go, okay, well, yes, God created it all, so maybe he did do a Big Bang. We don't know. Nobody was there to videotape this, right? So, we had to unteach or discuss those kinds of things all the time. But my husband's been supportive the whole time. He is probably my biggest advocate. And I agree with Deb. High school, well, going through the early years is wonderful. It's challenging. It's intriguing. It's fun to watch their aha moments. I'm totally addicted to that. But once you get to high school, it gets very scary. It gets very intimidating. And realizing that you're prepping them for college. So I totally get that. That's where I am right now, and I'm still totally intimidated every single day. So, yeah. Leanne?
Well, let's see. Gosh, I don't even know where to begin. I don't know. Let's see. We started.
Well, yours is definitely in the beginning, hubby asked you a lot of questions, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to prompt her because I remember I know the story, so I'm going to prompt her a little bit.
So, well, I think it even goes back further than that. My husband worked for Lifeway, and when he was working at Lifeway, they had this big old table that were like the book rejects from trade shows. And so he, and I had just had a baby, and so I was like, well, whatever you have, I'll read it. Just bring it home to me. So he would bring it home, and every single one of them was a homeschooling book. I guess no one at trade shows wanted homeschool books. I don't know. But
He didn't know he was actually setting the stage for Leanne. Little did he know what he was doing.
he did
And
not. And so then so I'm just reading all these books, and I still have many of them. They're great, great, great resource books. And so then when my son was 3.5, he came to me and said, "Mom, teach me. I'm a former high school teacher, not a little preschool elementary teacher. There is no way. I've never had a desire to teach little kids." And he came to me and said, "Teach me." And so I said, "Okay, well, I need to research. I need to find out." And so I spent quite a bit of time studying. I kind of discovered a Montessori thing, which is kind of how I met Trish from that world. So, and then I started praying about, you know, what we should do. And so when he was 4, we were looking at he was at a preschool, and he had a conflict with the teacher. How can you have a conflict with a preschool teacher? But he did, and ended up hating school. I mean, she said that he was too loud and would put him in timeout on the playground for being too loud and all kinds of things. And so we started praying about it and felt like God was saying this is where we needed to go. And so it came down to the night before we were supposed to sit in line to register our child for this elite elementary school, and my husband said, "You know what? You really have been saying God is telling you to go do this. He's not telling me not to, but He's telling you to do it, so let's do it." And so that's kind of how we started homeschooling. And then it's meshed with our family. We 100% love it and enjoy it, and it's kind of really just improved our family life, because now my husband, who's a police officer, when he is off, we have time to do stuff with him, and we adjust our schedule to fit whatever needs we have. So
that's great. It sounds like you had a lot of support in the beginning.
yes.
Irina or Liz, what was your, how did you get into homeschooling? And
I first heard about home education from another member of GHEC board, Pavel Profentiev. He lives in St. Petersburg. He's also from Russia. It was in 2011, and I started reading about home education. My husband has been bringing me books from United States on home education, and Deborah Bell's Ultimate Guide on Homeschooling was one of those books, one of my favorite ones. So I've been reading everything for about a year. And then in 2002, October, I went to Berlin conference, and I saw there the result of home education. I saw the kids there who came with their parents to help for the conference, and they were absolutely great. It was awesome to see them behaving like, like not normal. Like not normally teenagers before. Yes, it was GHEC 2012 conference, and it was their last argument that after seeing these kids, I became absolutely sure that I will homeschool whatever challenge it will be, because I want my kids to behave like this. Not like, normal teenagers. so socialization was never a concern for me, never. And basically, academically, I wasn't afraid of high school stuff, and I'm not afraid of high school things as well, because I believe I'm in love with homeschooling, and I believe that this is so important. The relationship with a kid is much more important than everything else, and raising a Christian, a good Christian, is more important than all academic results. Although I'm putting a lot of effort into quality education, and I care about, and I want to develop curriculum, and I want best program, but this is the second priority. And the first one is to raise a good Christian, and you can do it only with home education. You cannot do it with any school. I'm absolutely sure that it's virtually impossible. It's almost impossible. Maybe there are some cases, but you cannot keep the relation with the kid when he is not at home most part of the day, and he has his own separate life which you don't know. So I feel I'm a homeschooling zealot, and I started homeschooling with telling my friends that, oh, we don't have a good school in the area because I don't live in Moscow city or city center where all the fancy schools are. So I maybe have to homeschool. And now I came to saying that, oh, I don't want any kind of school for my kids. I want only the home education. So that's
great. Liz, did you want to share? Uh-oh. We can't hear you. Oh.
That's too bad. We've been fighting this all morning.
That's
Poor
okay.
Liz. Oh, I know, it's so frustrating. We still can't hear. Oh, well.
All right. Well, we'll just go on as we're coming towards the end. And some of you ladies have talked about, a little bit about, how you got into homeschooling and why you enjoy it. And that leads me to the question of, there's a popular author here in the U.S. that wrote a book, and it's titled, I think it's something like, Start with Why. And the key behind it is, really understanding why you're doing it. And the book was mainly it was a business book, and why you're in business. But I think it applies to everything that we do in life. And so for homeschoolers, the question that I pose to you all is, what is your why? What is it that for you who've completed, like Deb, who's completed the journey, what is it that made you keep getting up every morning and doing what you did in spite of the obstacles? And for all of you, everybody has those tough days, no matter what you're doing. That's just part of life. And as believers, we know that. We're not promised a field of roses every day. We're just promised that Jesus will be with us through it all. So, what is that why that keeps you going in your homeschooling journey?
You want me to start? It landed on me. How did that happen? Okay, so what is my why? My why, it's so many different things, but the whole point of it, we're Messianic, so our faith is a little bit different. There's not a lot of co-ops or schools around. Even if I wanted to send my kids off to school, I couldn't do that. So my why has to be, first and foremost, our faith. And the ability to have those conversations with my children, going through the curriculum with them, and the relationships with them. But what keeps me going is I feel like I'm called to do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the reason I started, but it's the reason I'm here. And so I don't, and I wouldn't change it. I love doing this. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, there are days where, I am ready to run screaming from the house and leave them here, and I'm going somewhere else. But and that's part of relationships. That's part of what we're teaching them, is how to deal with those tough situations where you don't want to do it, but you persevere anyway. So my why is I'm called to do it, and it's what's expected, and it's what I love doing. So, yeah, the why is easy for me.
Okay.
I'll jump in real quick.
Okay.
For us, it was about vision, exactly what you were saying there, Camilla. And I had it posted on our refrigerator. I talk about it in the first chapter of my book. You have to have a vision, and every family's is unique. We wanted our kids to learn how to pass on their Christian faith in a way that was compelling and winsome. So we wanted to raise them to be global Christians. Two, I wanted my kids to love to learn. That was really important to me. I think that learning is a blessing from God, and from my experience as a teacher, I just felt that we unintentionally, professional educators unintentionally, because of the constructs of the system, are killing kids' natural love for learning. And we wanted to be the primary influencers in their lives, Dad and I. We really wanted to be the people that they went to. And I recognize from having been in the classroom that, again, unwittingly, a lot of times professional educators and other people and peers just step into that gap. So I had to have it written out and posted because, like the proverb says, without a vision, the people perish. I would, by December, I was perishing most years. And so I needed to keep going back to that vision thing, to keep, saying, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And my adult children really, they're very appreciative, but they have things that they said we could have done better. I mean, we joke about it, handwriting, math, things like that. But what I do appreciate is my one son said to me, Mom, you did raise us to love to learn. We love to learn. And I'm like, I'll take that. And all 4 of my kids are believers and very deeply committed believers. So I will take that too, yes, by the grace of God. I think homeschooling doesn't cause our kids to become saved, but I felt like it created a context to put our Christian faith on display in a way that was coherent for our kids. It wasn't getting conflicting messages about it.
That's beautiful, Deb. Liz, do we have your sound back?
Let's try. Do you have it?
Yes, we do.
You do? Oh, wonderful. Okay, so let's do the why. Is that where we are at? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, what keeps me going every day? I think I've more recently, perhaps than before, I get to see almost on a daily basis what the alternative looks like. And I know that that's not what we want for our children. The character formation, which was one of our primary reasons why we chose to homeschool in the first place. And when we look at what's happening around us, so we're doing what God wants us to do. We're at hand to shape and mold the character of our children. We're at hand to answer their questions, because the answers they'll get out there will be different and will not be according to our faith and our values. And that's really just, it's negative, seeing the negative really fuels the positive, it really fuels me to just feel like I need to keep, and I want my children to be strong when they leave home. I want them to be strong in their faith. I want them to be strong in who they are and not to be defined by the value systems of the world, which are really blaring and glaring all around us. So that has really kept me going. Of course, there are those days, especially with academics, it just feels like, oh, this is too much. But like when my daughter to college, perhaps about 9 months ago, and friends come up to me and say, oh, Liz, congratulations, you made it. You've homeschooled all the way through college. And I think, wow, it's been such a daily walk that I wouldn't take the credit for it. I wouldn't say, yeah, we did it. It's by God's grace, and I feel it's still a continuous journey. Even when she's in college, they still need their mother, they still need their father, but in different ways. And just really thankful that it's such a great opportunity to input in the lives of these children when they are younger, and let them grow and stand strong. And my daughter, who's now in college, there are times she comes back home because she's still living with us at home and goes out every day. And there are days she just comes back and says, gosh, Mom, I wish homeschool college also. And I say, oh, why do you say that? And she says, oh, man, I just can't. I don't get it. I don't get why people will not do their assignments when they need to do it. And it's group work. And so, we need to take up the task and get them to work, and all just the things that come with working with people. But she enjoys her relationships there. So when I say, okay, yeah, let's do it at home, she says, no, I like my college. She's made great friends there. But yeah, I'm glad that she appreciates that, there were things that she learned at home, and, just her love for learning, as Deb is saying, that she's zealous to learn, she's zealous to do an excellent job, and so will not go down to the lowest denominator, even when she's in that society now, because she has a better foundation. And, well, we give thanks to God for that.
Yeah.
Yes, we praise God.
Mm-hmm.
Irina?
What keeps me going and my why
Why?
is
Yes.
the same question for me. I just think that I don't have any option. That just that school is not an option
Yeah.
in any case. So I just have to do it. It's my duty number one as a parent to homeschool my kids, to save them from school,
Yeah.
from this crazy world, from the influence of no one knows whom influence, and all this terrible stuff that is so beautifully explained, precisely explained by John Taylor Gatto in his books. So I have, as a mom, I have to save my kids from this. And homeschooling is a challenge and the joy, and it's a great pleasure to learn with the kids, to see them learning. Like, when you're gardening a beautiful bush and you don't know which flower when will come out, and it's absolutely fascinating to see this, to monitor this process, and it's such a blessing from God that we can do it in where we live, and that is also what keeps me going around talking to. And because we have freedom in Russia on homeschooling, in the United States and in Kenya, but we have to realize that this freedom is fragile everywhere. So we have to continue going, talking, lobbying, being persuasive, promoting our idea, getting more and more people involved to have this movement grow larger and larger. So it will be more strong and all the.
Leanne, did you want to share your why?
Sure, I can. Just really brief. Probably
Okay.
the one thing that really touched me was when I read Mike Ferris's The Homeschooling Father book. Very first chapter, there was one line that has entirely changed my view, and it was people who do not who have spiritually fuzzy goals for their children have spiritually fuzzy children. And that truly impacted me, that everything I do, starting with, spiritual goals, entirely affects him. So if I don't lead with that, then he, as a result, has a major, I don't know, it affects his life. So that's where I come from, it is that I have to have that Christian basis behind it, and the only way to do that for me is by homeschooling.
Yeah. Ladies, I'm so thankful that you took the time just to share your experiences with the homeschooling community, and it's just, I think overall we learn how much we all have in common, no matter where we are. I see for all of you, it's laying that foundation, and and you're setting your family and your children on a foundation that is firm and that is rock solid and is truth, and that is a lasting foundation. And for those of you that are veterans, you're able to see the fruits of your labor as your children go out into college and out into the world, and that's such a beautiful thing. And Apologia Mission, our whole purpose is to move that forward and to do, like Liz said, in Kenya, it was missionary families that came in and exposed them to homeschooling. And for Arena, the challenge is just getting curriculum in their language. And so we want to be a part of that movement and helping, whether it's emerging homeschooling markets, and just helping people set the foundation for their family so that we see future generations. As Zan Tyler, one of our authors, always says, that homeschooling is a revival in the hearts. And I truly believe that. And it's such a beautiful work that you all get to take part in, and that God has has allowed for you and the gifts that you have. So I just want to, for those of you out in the homeschooling community that would like to get involved in supporting the global homeschooling movement, please go to our website. It's apologiamission.org. That's apologiamission.org, and you can find different ways that you can give, get involved, and I thank you again, ladies, and I hope everyone has a blessed and wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Camilla. Good to see everybody.
You too. And I wanted to let everybody know that we will be having more. This is part of the Homeschool Teacher Appreciation Day event that is going on all day today. If you go over to the Apologia website or to their Facebook page or to Homeschool Teacher Appreciation Day website, you will see that there are giveaways going on all day, there are interviews going on all day, and this is the first of many. So be sure to join us, and they're literally going on all the way until 10 o'clock tonight Eastern Time. So for you international folks, y'all would be really tired. Y'all can stay up all night. But for us, it's starting of the day. So we'll be here doing this all day long. And we'll be posting this on Hip Homeschool Moms and Apology. We're posting it on their page. So thank you again for being here with us and for being a part of the Homeschool Teacher Appreciation Day. And thanks, Camilla.
Thank you.
Fun. Y'all have a great day, and we will circle back around, and we'll see you hopefully in the next couple of hours. The next one is Deb Bell again. Hey, Deb. We're going to be talking to her with Vicki at 11 o'clock Central. So we will be back. Join us. Have a great day, y'all. Bye.
Bye.